Hi, I'm Mel, and I am choosy. My ultimate skin goal is gusto kong mag-even out ang skin tone ko.
Hi, my name is Gian Enwada. My skin goals are to become whiter, fairer, healthier, and younger.
It really shows na yung skin ko ngayon mas moisturized, mas glowing, and mas healthy.
Thanks to Glutasy, I got my skin tone back. Thank you so much, Glutasy.
Every coffee needs a lotus.
What's the secret to beauty's beauty?
Langis.
Ito ba lahat ang gamit mo?
Ay hindi. Isa lang ang gamit ko for all. Moringa O2 Therapy Oil. Hindi lang malunggay. Meron ding olive oil and omega from sunflower oil.
This therapy oil helps relieve my dry and irritated skin.
It helps lighten my scars and stretch marks.
It helps make my hair young and healthy.
This is our beauty secret.
Sana all!
Zero oil.
Nandito ako nung nagpa-practice mag-bike ng anak ko.
Nandito ako nung nag-birthday si Mommy.
Dito ako nag-celebrate ng wedding anniversary namin.
Distance will always be a problem. So choose a home that makes life more fulfilling by bringing you closer to everything that matters the most. Arezzo Place Pasig. Live fulfilled.
Finma Properties, making room to build your future.
We give employers more ways to extend a helping hand. The financial programs we design with our business partners focus on creating a safety net for devoted employees. We believe secure and happy employees are essential to a successful business.
The vision of Frontier Software is to supply organizations throughout the world with an integrated, secure, common human resource database. This can be accessed anywhere, anytime, by any device using the latest web technology.
Founded on commitment, built on quality, unrivaled in delivery. Frontier Software is a world leader in integrated human resource solutions. For over 3 decades, we've been expanding into new territories, investing in fresh talent, and developing the technology to deliver world-class HR and payroll management software to over 1,600 organizations across the globe, both large and small. Our leading-edge products are the result of our forward-thinking commitment to excellence and incorporate a comprehensive range of software modules. We annually invest over 20% of our profits into research and development, ensuring that new products are available year on year, so you get the best possible solution for the ever-changing needs of your company.
Hi, I'm Mel, and I am choosy. My ultimate skin goal is gusto kong mag-even out ang skin tone ko.
Hi, my name is Gian. My skin goals are to become whiter, fairer, healthier, and younger.
It really shows na yung skin ko ngayon mas moisturized, mas glowing, and mas healthy.
Thanks to Glutasy, I got my skin tone back. Thank you so much, Glutasy.
Every coffee needs a lotus.
What's the secret to beauty's beauty?
Langis.
Ito ba lahat ang gamit mo?
Ay hindi. Isa lang ang gamit ko for all. Moringa O2 Therapy Oil. Hindi lang malunggay. Meron ding olive oil and omega from sunflower oil.
This therapy oil helps relieve my dry and irritated skin.
It helps lighten my scars and stretch marks.
It helps make my hair young and healthy.
This is our beauty secret.
Sana all!
Sarah oil.
Nandito ako nung nagpa-practice mag-bike ng anak ko.
Nandito ako nung nag-birthday si Mommy.
Dito ako nag-celebrate ng wedding anniversary namin.
Distance will always be a problem. So choose a home that makes life more fulfilling by bringing you closer to everything that matters the most. Arezzo Place Pasig. Live fulfilled.
Finma Properties, making room to build your future.
We give employers more ways to extend a helping hand. The financial programs we design with our business partners focus on creating a safety net for devoted employees. We believe secure and happy employees are essential to a successful business.
The vision of Frontier Software is to supply organizations throughout the world with an integrated, secure, common human resource database. This can be accessed anywhere, anytime, by any device using the latest web technology.
Founded on commitment, built on quality, unrivaled in delivery. Frontier Software is a world leader in integrated human resource solutions. For over 3 decades, we've been expanding into new territories, investing in fresh talent, and developing the technology to deliver world-class HR and payroll management software to over 1,600 organizations across the globe, both large and small. Our leading-edge products are the result of our forward commitment to excellence and incorporate a comprehensive range of software modules. We annually invest over 20% of our profits into research and development, ensuring that new products are available year on year, so you get the best possible solution for the ever-changing needs of your
afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another live webinar series for a cause, of course, brought to you by Ariva Academy. Our topic today is managing virtual workers today. My name is Irish Malanda Samson, your host, and joining me this afternoon as our moderator, one of the Ariva partner speaker, Coach Suzette Shapno.
Hi, good
Coach.
afternoon, Miss Irish. Good afternoon to all our participants and viewers from all over the world. Hello.
Okay, please join me in welcoming our international viewers and participants, and they are watching from Vadodara, India, Hyderabad, India, Singapore, Dhaka, Bangladesh, Makassar, Indonesia, Kuching, Malaysia, Chiang Mai, Thailand, and Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Thank you for joining and registering in our webinar. Okay, moving on, we would like to, in order for us to have a smooth flow of our e-learning session, here are the following house rules. Okay, let's wait. So, you know the drill. So for those of you who are first-time viewers of our webinar, please type hi and let us know where you're watching right now. Let's check. By the way, Sir Alex Arelon is watching from Jeddah. Hello, Sir Alex. Okay, Jane Duque is from Makati. Welcome to our webinar. Florante, hi, sir. Raquel Chua, hi. Antonio Alvarado is watching from Taguig. Okay. Alvin Fabon, welcome, sir. Consuelo Sagarang is watching from Mandaluyong. Okay. John Francis, thank you. Pauline Faustino from Cainta. Francisco Montellano, welcome, sir. Okay, moving on. Let's do an audio check. You will be using the following codes. Please type in 111 to show if you can hear me loud and clear. 222 means you cannot hear me. 2121 means the sound is breaking up, and question mark if you don't understand anything. Leonard, 111, Dana. Hi again, Dana. Sharon. Joy Minerva, thank you. Michael. Antoinette Obilio, 111. So far, we're loud and clear and audible. Okay. Ralph Manlapi, thank you. And next. Well, since we have limited time, we won't be having a break later, okay? So for Q&A guidelines, participants' microphones will be temporarily disabled by the administrator during discussion to avoid interruptions. Questions will be entertained after each topic of the session. For questions and clarifications during the provided time after each topic, please click the raise hand button for the administrator to enable the microphone for live questions. Type in your questions at the Q&A box, again, at the Q&A box, not in the chat box. One question at a time will be entertained. For comments and feedback, please scan this QR code. This will be directed to our feedback form. Please send us your comments, suggestions, topics to discuss in order for us to have a smooth flow of our e-learning session. And now, before I give the floor to you, Coach Suzette, and introduce our international and global keynote speaker for this afternoon, I would like to say hi to the teachers from Tipolo National High School, Mandaue City. They are watching right now. Ms. Nerissa Pilapil, good afternoon, ma'am. Okay, and now to discuss managing virtual workers today. Coach Suzette, please introduce our speaker.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Miss Irish Malanda Samson. Let me introduce to you our speaker for today's topic, managing virtual workers today. Our speaker is considered the leading advocate for employee recognition and engagement worldwide. He has worked with 80% of the Fortune 500 and presented on 6 continents. He has been featured extensively in the national and international media, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, CNN, CBS 60 Minutes, MSNBC, ABC, PBS, and NPR about how best to motivate today's employees. Dr. Bob has sold over 5 million books, including 1,501 Ways to Reward Employees, the 1001 Rewards and Recognition Field Book, 1001 Ways to Energize Employees, the Management Bible, Recognizing and Engaging Employees for Dummies, and his latest book, 1001 Ways to Engage Employees. Please help me welcome the guru of thank you, Mr. Bob Nelson.
Suzette, thank you so much.
Hi, nice to
pleasure
nice
to be
to
with
see
you and each of
Yes.
you. There we go. A little
Welcome.
music is going.
How's everything there? Sir
Everything's
Bob?
great here. I'm
Okay,
staying in my
thank you.
backyard.
Nice background that you got there.
I'm in San Diego, so I'm not too far from there, but I'm not actually right there right now. It's actually nighttime now, so it's about 11 at night.
Oh,
And,
thank you for accepting our invite, Mr.
My
Nelson.
pleasure. My pleasure.
I'm sure the participants are excited to hear from you. You may now start your presentation, sir.
Thank you so much. And I got pre-questions that people had, and I found them very interesting. And I'm going to touch on most all the topics of the questions. They tended to fall into two categories. One, how can you make sure virtual workers are working and make sure they're productive was a major category. And the second part of that was how do you keep them motivated? And
That's right.
what
That's
are things to
correct.
do that? So we're gonna definitely touch hard on both those themes, and then I'll welcome any other questions you might have. I want to start with one of my quotes from one of my favorite quotes by Bill Hewlett. He's co-founder of Hewlett Packard, and he once said, "Men and women want to do a good job, a creative job, and if they're provided the proper environment, they will do so." I love this quote because just in one sentence, it says where we've come from and where we are now, where we're headed, all in one sentence. And for the longest time, the way people were managed was through telling them what to do. My way or the highway. The manager is the person in charge. And you bark orders and take names and require them to do what you tell them. That style of management has gone to the wayside now, and with modern employees, it has to be much more collaborative. So you can't force people to do anything really as a manager. It's always going to be their choice. And how hard they work is going to be their choice. You can't make them work harder than they're willing to. So what you can do, though, as Mr. Hewitt has indicated here, is you can meet them at their energy and provide an environment that's welcoming of their initiative, their energy, their enthusiasm, their willingness to learn, and so they will run with you and do more of that. And that's what we're going to talk about, how to do that as the circumstances have drastically changed of late, where for most employees, they're working from their home and not in your office or next to you or in where you can see them. So that's some substantial change, and we're going to talk about how to best accommodate that. Managing virtual workers today. So let's start with the definition. Virtual work is when individuals work from home or on the road or anywhere outside the traditional centralized office. So in one area where you can see them all, or cubicles, or however you might be arranged, is a traditional manner of work. And now that they're dispersed, you can't see them, and they're working in coffee shops and from home and all over the place. And that makes a lot of managers nervous because they don't think they can manage what they can't see. So and a virtual team is one that conducts its work almost entirely through electronic technology, which is going to be a big plus on this whole topic. So to give you an example, I've worked with actually thousands of companies at this point, and Hewlett Packard for years. I remember in talking to my Hewlett Packard contact, and I always assumed that they were at their headquarters in Sunnyvale, California. And one day I just asked them, where are you sitting right now? And I was surprised to find that they were actually in Miami. That's where they lived. And now they live in San Antonio. And in talking with her about this, she mentioned that she had worked at Hewlett Packard. In fact, I just got an email from her today, coincidentally enough. She had mentioned that she had worked at Hewlett Packard for 18 years. In that time, she'd had 5 different managers. She'd never met any of them face to face. They've all been virtual. And so, they still have to do all the same tasks and all the same processes. When they get a group together on a project, instead of saying, well, who's available down the hall, they say, who's available around the world? And they get the best people that can speak to the problem. And they have to do the same things as any group would do to set a common goal and procedures for working together and tracking mechanisms and wrap up in summary. They just don't meet face to face. And so it's doable. And I think for managers today and for employees today, everyone's going to have to get more comfortable with making this happen and probably had to do that already. So I'm convinced that work's becoming a state of mind more than a place to go, a state of mind. And so you can be excited and motivated in work, wherever you are, in your car, when you're taking a shower, you can be thinking about work. And so it's really not limited to just where you have a desk and a laptop. And the laptop now can be, of course, anywhere. And people take it on vacation. And so it's really, the whole game has changed on many, not all types of work, but most types of work, where if you can work from a distance, that increasingly we're going to find out that people, that's going to be the new norm, and they're going to be expected to do that. In the US, Twitter a couple weeks ago announced that, and they have all their employees at home, they announced stay at home. We're not going to have you come back to work. And they have a huge office building in San Francisco. And Facebook did the same thing. And they've got a beautiful campus. Stay at home. If you can get your job done at home and you're comfortable there, just keep working there. And so we're going to find that more and more companies are going to be doing that, because as we come back and as we are struggling now with reopening our economy, there's a lot of rules for businesses that in terms of keeping a distance, which means in a building, 2 elevators are limited to 2 people per elevator, and no talking while you're on the elevator, and constant cleaning and ventilation systems. And it's going to be very inconvenient for a lot of people to be back at work, and most companies aren't even allowing but a few people back. I know one company where they just are having the upper management come back. Other companies are having 5% of their employees come back and see how that works, or some are starting to do staggered shifts. So it's going to be all over the map how we do it. The bulk of employees, if you can do your work from home, you're going to be allowed to continue to work from home. So workers with the proper state of mind, if you get into that frame of mind, you can work from anywhere and get results. And managers need to nurture that proper state of mind, make sure they have what they need, and that you're providing what you need to help them be successful. So again, it comes down to the productivity side, the tools of the job, but then the moral support. And one of the requirements of virtual employees, since you're not going to bump into them by accident or see them at the morning staff meeting, is you've got to think about them wherever they are, which means that if you haven't talked to them for a while, you got to check in with them. And for a lot of managers, that might be spending a lot of time calling people or finding a way to on Slack, for example, or HipChat to have a conversation, and even an open mic where everyone's working and you can still talk to each other is a type of thing that we're morphing towards. I want to give you 3 reasons why virtual work is important, and this is maybe more justification than we need because it's already here and we got to do it. But even before that, it was on the rise, and some 40% of workers, even before the pandemic, were working remotely from where their job was based. In in the global arena, over the last 10 years, virtual work has expanded 91%. It's become the new norm, allowing flexibility 78%. So of all the currently, of all organizations that have employees that work remotely, is 75% of all organizations. And of those, 45% are anticipating expanding that, and maybe in a hurry. So these numbers might even be, if they're 2 months old, they're out of date at this point, because it's be more universal that everyone's going to be doing this. So that's the first reason. Another reason why it's so important. So it's already happening. It's already happened, and it might have been a struggle. For example, my sister works for a military base, and she's a psychologist, and she really didn't want to work at home. All her equipment was there. She had to use secure equipment, and so she would be coming in on the weekends. And finally, she said, "Hey, can you give me a secure location at home?" And then they did. They gave her printers and connections and IT, and now she's perfectly happy at home, and she doesn't want to go back to work. And I think there's going to be more and more of that as we go. So working from home is, if employees have that chance, is highly desirable to them. 3 out of 4 employees say that flex work arrangements, virtual work, would cause them to choose one job over another. 75% of all employees. 36% of employees say they'd give up a pay raise for the ability to work virtually, and 40% said they'd take a pay cut if they're allowed to work virtually. Virtual workers report being more satisfied than their in-office coworkers. So it works for them. Why do they love it so much? Well, it's kind of predictable. There's greater work-life balance. Okay, they can take a break whenever they need it. They don't have to have a dress up to go to work and have a commute. That they're in the comfort of their own home. Maybe their pets there, so they feel very, very content there. They have more autonomy. That's more control of their work day, more flexibility as to when they're going to do the different things they need to do. And of course, less time and money spent commuting, which for the average American at least can be as much as an hour. I've got my brother-in-law, he commutes an hour and a half to work in the Washington, D.C. area, an hour and a half, 2 ways every day. So for a lot of people, that takes a big chunk out of their time, out of the day, and of course the associated costs, and some places you have to pay for parking. So all that can add up, car maintenance and whatnot. In different studies, there's significant savings if we don't have to do that. And for so many people that have been at home now, just like the insurance in your car, like I got a $400 refund from my insurance company because we're not driving our cars, So we use them just to go to the store and home. We're not driving them all over Carnation as we were a few months ago. So there's again a lot of benefits. And final reason that it's also highly beneficial to employers. So it's on the rise. Employees like it, but for employers, it's beneficial as well. 80% of workers at home are more productive versus at the office. Study after study has done this. I can remember 20 years ago doing my own study with my own employees that I gave them a choice to work at home, and I had them log their time very specifically. And we were able to document that they were twice as productive at home. There are no interruptions, there's no socialization, and they could dig into a project, depending on what you're working on, and be more thorough and take it to completion more easily. So for a lot of workers, it makes sense, not just for them, but it makes more sense for the company, where they get higher productivity. That actually, it's been shown that virtual workers, they put in more hours than they're paid for. Now, I initially found this research, I go, yeah, right. I'm not sure I believe that, but I got to tell you, my wife was a virtual worker at the time, and without a doubt, she was putting at least 19 extra hours a week in, because she would constantly be working. She'd be working at night, she'd be working in the living room, the dining room. It was constantly, if you're a professional and you're committed to your job and you enjoy your work, you're going to do it all the time. And so it really is true that you get more from employees because it's working for them and they want to be successful and have it continue to work. So they'll put in more time for professional employees. Studies show that virtual employees have a greater intent to stay than traditional workers. That means that if it's working out, they're going to stay longer, and that's a big. Before the pandemic, in the U.S. we were at a record unemployment low in 50 years. So it was really hard to find talented workers. And so if you've got something that is keeping them to your company and keeping them committed, and it's working for them than where they were working, they're going to pay attention and they're going to keep doing that. So again, a big benefit to employers. So that's why it's all on the rise. That's why it's going to be with us for a long time to go. So what I want to cover here in terms of the message about how to best manage virtual workers are these topics. Let me just go on quickly and then I'll dig into each one a little bit more. To get the most out of virtual workers, you want to set clear goals and expectations. And this is probably true for any type of worker, but even more so if they're at a distance, because you're not going to be there if they have a question, and you can't sit down next to them and show them. So you got to spend more time up front to make sure that they know what's expected. You got to have trust. You can't manage someone virtually if you don't have trust for them and the work that's being done. Trust, but with accountability, not blind trust, where they show up a month from now and maybe the project is done, maybe it isn't. So it's trust, but then a system of accountability. We're going to talk about that. You have to have extraordinary communication. Again, because you see them less, you're going to have to put more time and effort to having an ongoing conversation. That might have been more easily when they were sitting next to you or during the break or during lunch, that type of thing. You have to figure out the issue of inclusion and collaboration. It's more challenging with a virtual workforce to make sure that people are included in decision making, and yet to get a lot of tasks, we have to be able to collaborate with coworkers, and that can be more challenging virtually. And then finally, in any presentation, any topic I do, I always talk about the importance of recognition, because I did my doctoral work on this topic of employee recognition, and it has overwhelming evidence as being the most powerful driver of performance known to mankind. And so if there's any type of work or performance you want to be repeated or expanded by any employee, really in any relationship in your life, if you recognize the things you want more of, you will get that. Hands down proof. So I want to touch on what recognition looks like in the virtual world. That's what we're going to cover real quick. And my case study is someone I know very well, my wife of 42 years, and she's an IT person. She's a computer scientist and has had a lengthy career in high technology. Excuse me. Jennifer actually holds a patent for the neural programming. She has a master's in artificial intelligence and holds a patent for the technology that drives Zillow, the real estate firm based out of Seattle. Her name's on the patent. She was on that team that created that. So she now has worked with a number of different companies. This one is Axiom, which is in Austin, Texas. Now we're based in San Diego. So one day she said, "Hey, Bob, do you want to move to Austin?" I said, "Well, Austin's a nice town, but I like it here." And so she told them, "Thanks, I know you'd like me to come to Austin. I can't do it. Can we still make this job work?" And they said, "Yeah, no problem. We'll let you be virtual." And so she was one of the virtual employees on her team. She's a part of a 10-person software team, and 3 of them are virtual. One's in Mexico, one's in Japan, I think. And so they when she was first hired, she went to Austin and spent a week being oriented, and that's important because to develop trust and get to know the person, you got to spend time with them. And if you just have them go home and you see them on a Zoom call, that's not going to establish a relationship. You got to put some time in getting to know them and showing them how we work and our history, all that type of thing. So she invested some time, or they invested some time in her back at their headquarters for a week or so. And I tell you, she can and she does work from anywhere. When she first took that job, and this has been in our careers, she's always had more constraints on her vacation time because she worked for a corporation and I had my own business and I can take off whatever time I want. A lot of times I work too much as well, but when she became virtual, one of the first things she said is like, I can work from anywhere. And we promptly scheduled a trip to Iceland because she wanted to see for her birthday, she wanted to see the Northern Lights. And we went and spent 2 weeks in Iceland, and she didn't miss a single group meeting while we were there. So she'd have her call, and then we'd go off and do fun stuff, and you can work from anywhere. And so if you're disciplined and focused, it's a great advantage. So to set up virtual work, you've got to be strong on the goals and expectations. And as I said, this is really true of any work, any type of work, but more so with virtual work. We know all performance starts with clear goals and expectations. All performance starts with clear goals and expectations. The best goals are few in number, specific, and focused. You can't focus on everything. As a company, as a manager, you gotta narrow it down to what are the most important things we need to do as a team, and among the team, each person needs to do. That's a systematic way of prioritizing the work and who's doing what, and that has to be an ongoing conversation. Again, because this person's virtually, it's not, okay, good luck, check back if you need something. You got to have a constant communication stream. So this is really one of the answers to a lot of the questions. How do you make this work with accountability? Through communication. Now, the best goals are few in number, specific, and focused. The best goals are stretch goals. They're not too easy. They're not too hard. Research tells us this. If a goal is too easy, it doesn't motivate us to work on it. If it's too hard and we don't think we can achieve that goal, that doesn't motivate us either. It's got to be somewhere in between those two. And you get to that point through collaboration, through discussion. The days of just telling people what to do are over. You've got to have a dialogue. You've got to challenge people. You've got to ask them what they think they can do. And if you do that right, a lot of times they will accept harder goals than they might have set for themselves, because you're there saying, I think you could do more, and I'll be there to help you, and they'll take a stretch assignment and do something they've never done before because of the support you're giving them. And that's good. That's good for them. It's good for the company. It's good for you getting the work done. Now, what this looks like in the virtual environment, and let me go back to Jennifer because she's on a 10-person software team, is there's not a lot of play. It's not a lot of flex. It's a highly controlled, structural, ongoing discussion. And they do that, and this is true throughout software, for example, that they have these master plans, and they carve them into 2-week work periods that they call sprints. This is very common in software, 2-week sprints. And up front, they as a group, they talk about the activities and who's doing what, and they as a group rank the difficulty of different tasks. And so you can see how much people are taking on, and then you're held accountable to do the things you said you would. At the end of the 2-week period, they review, and wow, you had 5 points worth of work and you only got 2.5 done. Did something come up? What happened? Or maybe you got a little bit more done, and they refine as a group their ability to weigh the difficulty of different tasks. So it's like they're all in it together, and they help each other out. And so what they do is as a work pace, they all set up core hours. So you've got freedom to work whenever you can and need, but they make sure that they're all available from 10 to 2 to connect with other people as needed. So that's just a common understanding. So if you're trying to find someone during that time, They're not going to be out shopping somewhere. They're going to be available to you on the phone or their computer, just as a house rule, if you will. And except for that, if you're not going to be available, it's your responsibility to let the rest of the team know that hey, I'm going to the dentist for an hour, or I've got my kid is sick, and whatever. You have to communicate, not just to your boss, to your whole team who's counting on you to do work as part of the project. And this is a standard operating procedure in any software type group. In fact, when they have these well, I'll get to that. So you also you have to have this trust, but accountability. And again, this is the biggest challenge, I think, in this whole topic, is that the most managers feel that they have an inherent belief that if they can't manage people they can't see, and you got to get over that. Because one, you can't see them, like we're seeing each other now, or you're seeing me at least, and you can have a two-way conversation on your computer, on a phone call, on HitChat, on any type of technology. A lot of them allow that. We're going to talk about some of those. So to be a leader that is good at managing virtual workers, a study by Cisco found that the best managers for doing this, they tend to be naturally proactive. They had good communication skills. I'd say great communication skills, and they had some comfort with ambiguity. If you don't, you got to have a little bit of looseness, again, a little bit of trust with ways to check. If you have a hard time with that, it's going to be more challenging for you, and so you've got to focus and overcome that difficulty. In fact, this whole area of trust is most senior executives say that earning trust is the major challenge in managing a virtual team. The trust of the team and of each other. And initially, if you haven't done that, it takes some getting used to, but you develop the system and the pattern, you get to know people, and then it gets easier. Like with anything, the more you do it, the easier it gets. There's studies that indicate that it takes 4 times longer to build trust in a virtual environment. You don't have the visual cues in speaking to someone. You don't have the facial expressions, things like that. And it just takes longer, so you have to work harder at it or do more of it up front. Just focusing on the relationship more up front to get to know people until you know enough about them and you trust that you've seen their work and you trust them to do more along that line. So one of our past presidents, Ronald Reagan, he used to say, this was in terms of dealing with Russia at the time, was that we want to trust them, but we're going to verify nuclear weapons. We're going to trust them. We have a treaty, but we're going to have a way where we verify them and they verify us. And we're okay with doing that because this is how we keep the relationship solid. And it was a very successful strategy at that time. So what does this look like in the virtual environment? Going back to Jennifer's work group, they have daily meetings. So a lot of questions around how much control of work, and do you talk to them every week or every 2 weeks or once a month? No, you talk to them every single day. And they have a morning, they call it a stand-up meeting, 15 minutes, where everyone is on the call and each person reports what they got done yesterday, okay, to the whole team, not just their manager, to the whole team, what they're going to work on today, which is what we decided about as part of the 2-week sprint, and then any potential obstacles they have. And they do that as a group. They might, as a group, say, well, Gary's got the biggest challenge of our group today. So Gary, if you need anything from any of us, give us a call and we'll help you. Or if I get my task done, let me pitch in and help you with your task. There's a lot of give and take, again, among the group, not just the manager and the employee, but among the group working together to get the job done. It's a very powerful system once you get it up and running. It's all driven by extraordinary communication. In my research, when I looked at the 52 explicit behaviors to find out which were most motivating to employees, and this is just in a traditional world, not a virtual world. The highest ranking one in my study was communication, direct, honest, and open communication, which 95% of employees said was critical to them in any job. And so it even goes up from that in the virtual environment. And compare that to another study around the same time done by accountants. They found that communication on part of executives, they ranked it as important 48%, which is also good, but there's a gap there, and this is the gap we need to overcome, that you have to be as good at communication as your employees need from you. You can, if they want more and you're giving this much and they want this much, it's going to be a gap that you're going to be
Sir
struggling.
Bob, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes, some of our participants are saying they're having problems with the audio. Do you mind refreshing it or maybe adjusting the volume? Because some of them can't hear it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will pump my volume up some.
All right.
Very good.
Okay.
I have
Let's
it
try
up.
it again.
Yeah. How's that? And I will. I'll try to speak a little slower too. I get pretty excited on these.
Thank you. That's so much better. And I'll let you know when there's trouble with the audio again.
Thank you.
All right.
And so again, with virtual workers, communication as much, it's the specifics of what we're working on, but it needs to be much more direct. It needs to be much more transparent. You can't sarcasm or that's not going to work. You got to tell people directly what you need from them, and maybe this is true, especially for millennials, where you've got to deal with them directly, and don't be sometimes managers or baby boomers are treat younger employees with kid gloves, and you just have to be open and transparent and speak from the heart and say, here's information, here's what we need, and what questions do you have, and you can't dance around it, and that works better for them, which means it'll work better for you. So work structure, rules, and expectations on an ongoing basis, constant contact with the work group, the manager, team member, and between members. Again, so this is a big difference too. It's not just the manager and the employee. The whole team is part of making the work happen, working together to make it happen. But a big part of this is
Sorry, Mr. Nelson, again, there is a problem with the audio. I'm sorry about that. I'm so excited to hear a lot of things from you. However, we can hardly hear you. Let me ask our IT on his suggestion on how he can improve the audio.
I can't, I have it up all the way. I'm not sure what else I can do. I can try.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, maybe using the headset's a better idea.
I don't know if that will do it. I will try to speak up. So,
all right.
The tech tools for managing virtual work are especially key today. And then depending on the work, as a problem comes up, to have a non-stand. Now the group is meeting every morning, but even in the course of the day, you get stuck on something, you can have a call with someone or a couple of people to solve a problem. So again, different types of communications, making it all like oil in the machinery to run smoothly. So what type of technologies, what type do you say? Well, let me give you some examples here. You got two categories. You've got methodologies, which are ways that we get the work done, and that would be things like agile system, or with computer science, they use like pivotal tracker to assess tickets on work that needs to be done. Engineering, they use Jira. Scrum, the process I've been describing that is used in computer technology is often called Scrum, which is the 2-week sprints, the stand-up meetings, the ranking the work task, and Kanban is another type. Those are methodologies, approaches to work. And then within that, there's specific technologies. We're using one of them now, Zoom. And there's a lot of different variations. Microsoft has a Microsoft Teams, WebEx, GoToMeeting, Google Hangouts. In fact, the whole G Suite of Google tools, Slack, I've mentioned several times. HipChat is another form. These are all communication tools to connect with people. It could be one-on-one, it could be the whole team. These are core to making virtual work happen successfully. You can't wait until they're back in the office in 3 weeks from now and see if the job got done. You have to have a discussion along the way. Now, again, the challenge of these technologies, of any technology, is, again, if people are out of sight, they're out of mind, that the communication tends to be one way, as we have right now. Mainly, I'm talking. I don't get a chance to see your expressions. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. I'm not giving you a chance to ask questions back. Those are important in most communications, and we're suspending some of that for the efficiency of technology. And then there's a loss of contextual clues. When you're talking to someone face to face, for example, as much as 70% of communication is in expressions, facial expressions, and tone of voice, and things like that, or hand gestures, and you don't have that if you're talking to someone on the phone or over chat, that type of thing. If you're really paranoid and you don't trust employees, there's a lot of technology out there just to really clamp down tight on people, to say, and these are some examples that you can know what the keystrokes are, what they download, what they print out, what they access. And so I don't recommend these because now you're undermining trust. But if you need to get more comfortable and have another angle to attract people's work, they're available. Okay. It could be when I've had the virtual workers, we would just decide what, and often, again, it's up to the manager. So what do you need to feel comfortable, to be comfortable with me working outside the office? And do you want me to call in every 15 minutes? Do you want me to log my time? Do you want to have to be constantly available on the cell phone? And I'll have it with me. If I step out of the office, I'll have it with me. Whatever it will take to get the level of trust up is what's necessary. So the issue of inclusion is interesting because, as I said, that by far it's more productive to work from home. That there's fewer interruptions, but for a lot of types of work, we need people's input, and we need collaboration. And so, since relationships are built on shared experiences, that's basically the definition of rapport. We need to spend time with people up front if they're new to the job. You need to do the same with your team. And you do this even if they're meeting virtually on Zoom, to take time to get to know each other, to share, to have some verbal discussion about hobbies, just banter, just to get to know each other. I do when I work with groups. I'll go around the room and ask everyone to share 2 things that they do when they're not at work. And you learn about people's hobbies. That's a way to get to know them better. The more you know about someone, the more fodder you have to motivate them, to connect with them, to be more easily on the same team. So that's not frivolous. That's powerful. That's important to use in the trust of any team or any individual relationship. If you want to have, one of the questions I got was, well, should you have team building activities in the virtual? Yes, you should. Absolutely you should. My wife, every time they finish a sprint, they review the work and they debrief, which is important, but then they do something fun. And they have a team game, and they'll have some food brought in, a little bit of a celebration. They got through a 2-week work period, they achieved their goals, and then they have some fun and maybe play a game even, for 30 minutes. And that's okay. And there's a lot of things you can do like that in a virtual world. And I'm going to share with you a few of those examples here coming up. You want to, as is important with workers in the office, you want to have one-on-ones, which is a specific meeting with each employee to talk about questions they have, to talk about their career, to talk about whatever things that are important to them. This is part of building a motivated workforce. You can't put this aside because they're virtual. You have to still make sure you do it. So this might be every 2 weeks. They plan to check in with each person to talk to them about how it's going, other things that you can do to better support them, any questions they have, that type of thing. That's critical to do with virtual employees as well. When it comes to inclusion in the virtual environment, one way to think about that is visibility. You know, that if you're not seen and you're not heard, there's no visibility. So you have to have that. How often have you checked in with people? There's a positive correlation between visibility and perceived care. That is, if you have an employee that's working on their own, if you never check in with them, they're not going to think that they're important to you, and they're not going to feel that you care about them or what you're doing, what they're doing, and that's going to take a toll on their motivation. So just checking in informally to see how it's going, any questions, that type of thing is very important, even more important in a virtual environment. You also have the you can take the presence at times by taking initiative to return emails and phone calls. This is a lot of companies set up a standard for how quickly employees are expected to respond to emails or phone calls. More important when they're not around, because you're not going to bump into them in the hallway to say, hey, did you get my email? So they have to know the expectation of what's the norm here. And it can be any norm. I'll give you just one that some companies use. They say if it's for an external request outside of our department or company, from that you want to do that in 3 hours, depending on your business. That might be 20 minutes. It might be immediately. It's a customer, and you're in a support role. And then maybe a different standard for internal requests from other coworkers. Maybe that might be longer. But to talk about this helps to set the expectation so people know that if they have their own agenda for how their rhythm for how they get back to people, and that doesn't coincide with the expectations of the company, then they're gonna look like they're not a good employee when you never told them what the expectation was. If you want them to comply, you need to be upfront and telling them this is in general what I expect. And if you're a manager that does a lot of emails, that sends emails to people on the weekend or at night, there's a lot of managers that do that, and they expect people to get back to them right away. And some companies, they step in, they say no emails on the weekend or no emails at night. Or if you get an email at night, you're not expected to answer that. You can wait until working hours the next day. There's a lot of companies that have set up those type of standards to accommodate a kind of a fairness and working by the same rules, and not have some managers be so driven that they end up being slave drivers. So to work virtually in collaboration can be a challenge. And a case came up a few years ago with Yahoo, where their CEO Marissa Mayer, she overnight said people aren't allowed to work virtually anymore. Everyone needs to come in the office. And she got kind of industry kind of called her on this, like, what's going on? And she said, well, without a doubt, people are more productive when they work alone, but for some things we need collaboration. And for the stage of where they were at that time, she wanted people in the office to collaborate more, because if you're trying to collaborate and someone's not there, you're not going to take the time to call them, and they're doing something else. And so they set up, they kind of changed the rules on people to say that everyone had to be back in the office. Now, since then, she's left the job, and Yahoo's got purchased by someone else. So I'm not sure, this hasn't had a lot of lasting residual. And so I think it's more likely the case, as I mentioned, with Hewlett Packard, where virtual teams get better at working virtually and they still get the job done. And they collaborate effectively as well. So the last element I want to talk on, and then we'll see what other questions you have, is the whole topic of recognition. That I spent many years in in a PhD program learning about leadership and doing research. And I looked at hundreds and hundreds of studies and models for managing and leading. And out of all that, there's just a couple things that really popped up as being critical. And one we already talked about, the importance of goal setting, what you do on the front end for the performance you wanted. And this is the other most important variable in motivating employees. And that's what you do after they do the job that you wanted them to do. So setting up performance, and then once you get the performance, what you do is critical to have that performance repeated. And what you need to do is recognize and thank them for the job they did, which for some reason is really hard for a lot of managers to do. Mm-hmm. And so let me just say it's been called the greatest management principle in the world, that basically you get what you reward, what you recognize, what you incentivize, what you reinforce, what you inspect, you will get more of. Hands down guaranteed. So if you want a secret to getting better results in any relationship in your life, with an employee, yes, but also with a peer, even with your boss, with your spouse, with your kids, you will get it by taking to heart this principle. If someone does something that you wanted, thank them for it in some way, and they'll be more likely to do that again. Fact. This is so powerful, but so many people don't harness the power of this. And a lot of managers feel it's not my job to thank people, and someone else should do it for me, human resources or something. If you're a manager, you're in charge of the motivational environment, and that means you've got to be the person that acknowledges people when they've done a good job. And yes, you're paying them to do a good job, but the money alone is not going to get their best work from them. There has to be a personal investment, a personal thanks as well. So when you get serious about any type of performance, no matter what it is, you can drive that performance by getting serious about recognition. And this is probably the topic I'm most known for in my career. I wrote a book 25 years ago called 1,001 Ways to Reward Employees, and it's now in its 65th printing and sold 2 million copies. That because it's true, and the whole book just had I was groping around for a copy of it, but the whole book has well, here, I have it right here. Is the original 1,001 Ways to Reward Employees, and here's the revised edition, 1,501 Ways to Reward Employees. The whole book is 28 categories of ways to thank people, all real-life examples from actual companies of all sizes and all industries. It's just a smorgasbord of positive reinforcement that makes this overwhelming case that this really does work, and it can work for you if you give it a chance. So open this book anywhere and find, and here's an idea, and you can try this idea. It'll probably work for you as well. And if it doesn't, that's okay, because you can turn the page and here's another one. And so a business book especially doesn't sell 1 million copies unless it has content that really works and drives performance. And so I'm proud to say that does and has helped a lot of people be better at this principle. So what does it look like in a virtual recognition? A couple things to keep in mind. You want to start with the people that you want to motivate to see how they like to be motivated, how they like to be recognized, how they like to celebrate success. You want to do for them at least what you do for your traditional workers that are in the office. You should go beyond that because you got less interaction with them, to work harder to make sure that they're reinforced, and wherever possible to follow up, to have face-to-face communication. That could be a meal, that could be a visit. When they're in the office, make sure you meet with them, that type of thing. The specific strategies, again, I got thousands of them, but when just thinking in terms of what that looks like just for virtual workers, this could be call outs in meetings, electronic thank you cards. It could be a praise barrage is a fun activity where you have the group, and again, it could be a Zoom call of your team And you just say, hey, before we get started, I want to just go around our team. As I name someone, I'd like everyone else to say what they most like about and value about working with them. Let's start with Gary. And people share 100% positive. And this is not frivolous. As people get feedback on how they've been a good performer, they're going to do more of that. If you thank someone, Gary is such a great team member, he's always willing to jump in and help without being asked even. Gary's going to do more of that because you just told him you liked it, you valued it in working with him. He's going to become great at doing that. This is how it works. It's a human nature type thing. So next time you do it, you can do it with notes, with index cards, a chance to give people feedback from each other, your thank you notes. You can assign praise buddies. You can do electronic bulletin boards. You can have simultaneous celebrations wherever you happen to be. I have an example in a book where the company said, hey, at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, wherever you are, everyone should stop and we want to applaud because we just made this goal. And here everyone's at their computer by themselves applauding. Symbolically, we're all doing it together. So it's kind of silly, but still, it's kind of saying we're separate, but we're united at the same time. And again, for those people you don't see that often, keep a recognition log of what have you done for them. So you can also see when you haven't done anything in a while, and you can reach out to them. You can also step it up and have a software platform. This is a current client of mine, Qualcomm, the makers of 5G software technology. They're leaders in the revolution to 5G, and they have a software platform that's just around recognition, where you can recognize anyone else in the company, and you can follow them. It's like a social media type thing, and you can give them cards and thank you cards. You can write notes. You can do videos. It's incredible, and you can add a monetary value, points, or use gift cards. It's very, very robust, and there's a lot of companies that do this type of thing. In the U.S., the market for recognition and incentive companies is a $100 billion industry. So there's a lot of tools out there if you're so inclined. I think the most powerful forms of recognition don't cost anything at all, but if you want to have a gift card for Amazon or for Starbucks, you can have those options as well. That's what I wanted to cover the key points. And again, I've taken a lot of this from a book, The Virtual Manager, and it's written by a colleague of mine, Kevin Sheridan. And then my latest book is called 1,001 Ways to Engage Employees, which prioritizes the most research-based drivers of engagement in order of priority, with the first chapter being recognition, which research indicates accounts for 56% of how engaged someone feels in their job, right down the line. So I also have, I've done a lot of books over the years. Here's some other ones I've done. I showed you that one. I've got a field book on recognition, 1,001 Ways to Energize Employees, which are things that you can do within the context of the work itself. Again, that don't require money of any type. Just the ways you delegate and communicate and give people visibility, how to take initiative better. I've done a couple books for employees to say, here's how you can do this on your own. You don't have to wait for an enlightened manager to show you the path. You can look around and figure what needs to be done and assert yourself. Please don't just do what I tell you to do. Do what needs to be done. Is a fun book I've done. I wrote the Management Bible, Ubuntu, which is based on the South African principle of unity and connectedness. Our Managing for Dummies, companies just see people do. You're doing a freaking great job. So those are a handful of my books. I've done 30 over the years, and this is what I do. I research and I share concepts and examples and try to help people be better. So with that, we've got a few minutes left. Are there, Suzette,
all right. Thank you, Dr. Nelson, for that powerful presentation. We've learned a lot of things I'm sure the participants are excited to buy your books. We've already placed it in the chat box on how you'd be able to purchase Dr. Nelson's wonderful books. I'm so excited to purchase Dr. Nelson. I have a lot of key takeaways here, and I'm sure all of our participants have too.
We saw someone had their hand up there. If it was I didn't catch his name, but seems like Ramondo has his hand raised for the question. Can we turn his mic on, or I don't know if you put that in the chat, in the question box, or what? But
okay, let me see, because nothing's on the Q&A box now, but on the chat box, let me see, Mondo. Are you able to see it, Dr. Nelson? The chat box?
I can try to open it. It just popped up.
Okay. Let me see here. Okay. Okay. Let us keep with Mr. Raimundo's question, but let's see what the rest are asking here.
Okay.
I think he's having problems with the connection. Let me see.
The books are available on Amazon. There a lot of my books have been translated. They are in Chinese, simplified and complex, and then they're all available on my website as well.
Okay.
The Yahoo store.
So again, to all our participants, please take note of Mr. Nelson's email address, and of course, the place where you can buy the books. It's all there in the chat box. I have a message here that Mr. Raimundo's video isn't able to start. So probably, Mr. Raimundo, you can just type in your question so we can ask Dr. Bob Nelson about it. So going back, Dr. Bob, with your presentation, I mentioned a while ago that I had a lot of key takeaways here, and I'm going to mention some of them just so our participants are able to refresh themselves as well. We have a lot of practical tips that you've given us.
Thank you.
So let me go to one. I love the best managed virtual worker tips that you gave today, and I think that's the meat of the presentation. I'll make a run through on that. First, for managers out there, you have to make clear goals and expectations. Trust and accountability is very important. You know, Dr. Nelson, some of us are having a hard time in this area. And that's why when you mentioned a while ago that with trust and accountability, they can't manage people they can't see, it's already a thing of the past, I would have to agree. See, you really want to see them working, check on them once in a while. So for the managers out there, that's a thing of the past. Extraordinary communication. I like how you mentioned that it's important for us to make 15-minute daily checks, because a lot of us, most of us, just delegate the work and then let's just wait for them if they finish it.
You're surprised if they didn't do what you thought they would. Now you're disappointed and they're upset, and it's a problem.
That's right.
Shorter loops, shorter feedback loops, more checking in. I did have a couple questions come through on the chat. One was how do you operationalize approvals and signatures online? There's technology for this. I'm not sure if you heard of a DocuSign. You can have
yes, DocuSign, yeah.
And then there's other software like that where you can sign documents and contracts, that type of things. Another question.
That's right. And here's Mr. Raimundo, Dr. Nelson. He's back.
Okay.
I already typed it.
He's back.
How do you engage non-engaging managers?
Well, that's a big question, because most managers, unfortunately, they're promoted based on their excellence in a certain task. They're great salespeople or great IT people or great purchasing agents, and they do such a great job, we make them a manager of the department, and it requires a completely different skill set. And so you have to have an intervention that as you go higher in the organization, you need to be better and have stronger communication skills, interpersonal skills. And so you've got to give them the training and the awareness to be able to do that, because otherwise what they end up doing is they end up taking the job as a manager and they try to be a super worker, which means they're going to be the smartest person in the room. They're going to constantly correct you and call you out and embarrass you in front of others about how you did something wrong. Maybe they'll take the assignment back and do it for you. Now we don't need the manager anymore. You know, we don't need a team, because you're going to do everything, and
That's
you
right.
feel you're earning your pay, but you're undermining your own credibility. The most powerful thing you can do as a leader is to take time to check in with each employee when you start the job, to see what they most need to do a better job, and then to go to bat to get that for them, and show that you can get them the resources they need to be a better job. I've got another question here popped up for organizations that have.
So, Mr. Nelson, we will be having time for the Q&A. If you allow me to first thank our participants who donated, and I'll just make a quick discussion on the support, asking support from our participants, just for a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Would that be okay? All right.
Yes.
So to all our participants who supported, thank you very much. We again ask for your support for our frontliners. It's our way of helping during COVID-19. So the call of the moment is to give back and pay forward. While you gain access to all our live webinar series for a cost from April to June, you may donate an amount to help families in distress. So together, let us show our support to our fellow Filipinos who are in survival mode during this difficult time of the global health crisis. This is in collaboration with the Ariva Achievers Foundation and the Bayanihan Act 2020 group. And I also like to greet our viewers from out of town, from Baguio, Batangas, Cagayan de Oro, Cebu, Davao, Iligan, Iloilo, Laguna, Pampanga, Pangasinan, Quezon Province, Rizal Province, Sorsogon City, and Zamboanga. So there are a lot of Filipinos tuning in as well, Dr. Nelson.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
So I've been looking at some of these questions. Let me see if I can just answer a couple of them really quickly. That one person asked, we've got plant-based employees as well as virtual employees. How do we promote them working together? You got to have them spend time together, and again, that could be virtually. So the people that are plant-based, get them on the Zoom call as well. Because if you don't, you've got to have experiences together to build rapport. It can't happen in a vacuum. Another person asked, to ensure unity in virtual workers, should you still have team building sessions?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to have that.
Yes.
Great. Someone asked, is it safe to say in a heavy logistics and operations business that not all positions can work from home easily? Absolutely. In any business, there's some, if you have to be face to face with a customer, for example, or you have to be where the equipment is on the production line, you can't work from home. So again, that's this is something that everyone can't have the same opportunity. And if that's really important to you, work your way towards a job that has that freedom, which might mean training and education, but you can help someone reach there. And we
have a lot of questions, tons of questions here. Can I shoot a couple questions from the present ones, Dr. Bob?
Yeah, let me just answer this one real quick first, because this person said, we're trying to rebound because of the economic slump due to the pandemic. How can we recognize our work from home employees when there's not much monetary reward that the company can give? Again, as you heard me talk about recognition, the most powerful recognition doesn't cost money. So please, please, please don't think that recognition means just giving people more money or a bonus or not. Money's nice, but as powerful, sometimes even more powerful, is just having as a manager, thank you for doing a good job. That you were a valued member.
It doesn't have to be complicated, really, right?
Really, the simpler is the better. And try it if you don't believe me, because I think that in my experience, I found this to be true. I just talked about Qualcomm, for example, and I did I did a dozen focus groups there with frontline people, and they had programs and gift cards and this and that. I didn't have any. No one ever said, if only we had more gift cards or a higher, more valuable gift card. They all said, just if my boss would say something. I work hard, I make my deadlines. If someone would notice, it would mean the world to me. So just that simple thing is very powerful.
And thank you also, Dr. Bob, for sharing your wife's experience, Miss Jennifer Nelson's experience, because I'm sure that all of our participants can relate to her. So thank you for that. But so
Absolutely.
Just a few questions here.
Okay.
From Franz Kapati, without task monitoring systems in place, how do we make sure that employees are still productive? What type of leadership is most applicable during this work from home setup?
Well, without a doubt, the leader that's more gregarious, that takes more time to focus on the communication and the checking in with people and the interpersonal. If you don't have the technology and the technology tools that I mentioned, then you've got to still connect with people, but it could be through taking notes or I did this before those tools were available, and I'd have people track what they worked on. And still now, as I hire a contractor, I have them, write down your time and what you worked on and be specific on what you did, because that's a feedback tool for me. It's not just, I want to know, did you spend too long on something? Then I can help you do it faster, for example, or were you stuck on that? And so even tracking information like that allows us to be better working together. So constantly how can we improve our working relationship, where I can help you when you need it, and you can ask me a question when I can help you. So that's where you want to get to. You don't want to have people that are afraid to ask you a question, or the worst is having them hide mistakes because you're going to be upset with them.
They're afraid, they're afraid of you.
Bill Gates, chairman of Microsoft, he once said, you can tell a lot about the viability of any organization just simply by looking at how they handle mistakes. Because if you embarrass people, they're going to start hiding the mistakes, and we're going to go on the wrong path. Then if you say, well, maybe I wouldn't have done it the same way, but wow, I'm glad that mistake happened, because what did you learn from that? And that's training. That could be the best training you've had all year. So taking time to honor mistakes and talk about them openly is a powerful technique that is really taking the relationship with that employee, taking a long-term view of it, instead of catching them making a mistake and embarrassing them in front of their peers. Who cares about that? What did you learn? How can let's talk about so others can learn from the mistake you had. That's a good thing. And so put it in the positive.
Yes, I really hope that our participants will come out as a better manager after this webinar, because you see, some of us during COVID are a bit stressed, and sometimes it's hard really for us to handle our emotions. So thank you very much, Dr. Nelson, for giving us tips on how to handle our emotions as well, and also the leadership tools that you've given us. You've given us not only technical tools and tips, but rather practical guides as well. So,
well, thank you so much. Let me give you. I just want to get to as many questions as possible. Someone asked, if someone doesn't achieve their objectives in the virtual mode, how do you handle that? I'm a very open, I'm a very positive person, but you've got to be very harsh if they don't achieve. So, like I mentioned, the importance of communication and telling. When my wife's company, if someone missed their stand-up meeting, the meeting they have every morning, if someone missed a meeting without telling people in advance or having a good excuse, they were fired.
Oh, I thought you're going to say there's just a consequence, like a small consequence, but they're fired.
There's a big because that's the whole basis is based on the communication. And if you don't even show up for the meeting where we're planning our day, then we don't know what the heck you're doing, but you're not working on our stuff. You're out of here. And they were very strict on that, and because then that set the tone for everyone else that we're serious about this. And so it's not great to fire someone, but if you made the rules clear and they flaunted them. Now, if they had a good excuse, then one time that could work. But ideally, they'd say in advance, "I can't make tomorrow's meeting," and that's okay. That's okay. Here's why, and we'll fill you in. But if you just didn't show up, that was unacceptable.
So really have to be consistent with the rules that we set.
Yeah, or else the rule's not worth anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's correct. Dr. Nelson, I wish we had more time to entertain all the questions. I would like to thank our participants who typed their question in the Q&A as well as
Likewise.
through YouTube, but we don't have enough time. May we have...
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it again sometime for you. I'm very excited about what you have going, and I really enjoyed spending the time with those that came on board to hear what I had to say. So I hope next time we can do it in person.
Yes, I hope so too. Okay, any message? Any message for our participants? A last message or key message that you want our participants to take with them?
Key message, I'd say, rise to a higher level as a leader and as a virtual worker as well. Be open to the opportunity, and because this is, any time of change is also a time of opportunity, and that's not just for companies, but it's for every individual as well. As you can make this work, you're going to be more valuable to your employer and to other employers going forward. So don't shy away from the change and the heartache and the difficulty. Instead, embrace it. I'll end on that thought. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that inspiring message, Dr. Nelson, and also for your time in answering all the questions. I know you would like to answer each one of them. Thank you very much. And to our participants, what I'd like you to remember from Dr. Nelson's presentation or webinar is that work is becoming a state of mind more than a place to be. I really love that, Dr. Nelson. So thank you very much for sharing that with everyone. At this point,
everyone.
Thank you. So thank you again, Dr. Nelson. At this point, we would like to call in Miss Irish Malonda Samson for more announcements.
Hello, Coach Suzette.
Hi.
That was only an hour webinar, but definitely we got lots of learnings from Dr. Bob Nelson. Everyone, virtual clap for Dr. Bob Nelson.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Lots of practical tips, insights, strategies, apps and tools to monitor, and not only to manage, but to engage and make them productive as well.
And more than anything, it's the mindset that the managers should have that should shift aside from us adjusting to the virtual platform. It's more of the mindset of the managers. It's what's important.
I agree with you. And since you've mentioned that, I will share my key takeaway. Workers with a proper state of mind can work anywhere and get great results. So the managers need to nurture that proper state of mind. From Dr. Bob Nelson. Okay, and of course, we would like to thank you as well, Coach Suzette, for moderating our session. I'll be seeing you in a while for our exclusive webinar with Mr. Jonathan.
Sure. All right.
Thank you so much.
See you. Bye, bye, participants. Thank you.
And of course, we would like to thank all of the participants, our viewers for joining us this afternoon. And of course, we would like to thank as well the following win-win partners. We would like to thank our official media partner, Art Plus Magazine, digital media partners, Focus Media, Globaltronics, CD Advertising Ventures, Outcome, Elevate Media. For women partners, thank you to Brother, Faber-Castell, Gluta-C, Moringa O2, KFC, Mr. Donut, Tokyo, Lotus Biscoff, Boss Job, Sir Technology Inc., Finma Properties, Salary Jet, Frontier Software, Ilawi Korea, Kitoson and Carpo Consulting, Enchanted Kingdom, The Spurs, Cosmotech Philippines Inc. Mindchom's virtual preschool program. To register, please call them at 0906-486-0710 or email them at disakanabe@mindchoms.org. We would like to thank as well Essential Safety Products PH for your personal protective equipments, for your health and safety compliance requirements. Please email them at essentialsafetyph@gmail.com. And if you want to place your ads here, advertise your company, your services, your logo, have a brand exposure to thousands of viewers through Zoom, LinkedIn, and YouTube and Facebook, please do email us at marketing@ariva.com.ph. Stay on top of our insights and updates. Please stay connected and visit us on our social media sites. Please join the Ariva Academy Facebook group, like the Ariva Academy Facebook fan page, follow the Ariva Academy LinkedIn page, and visit us on our website. It's www.ariva.com.ph. And if you miss watching our live webinar with Dr. Bob Nelson and our previous e-learning sessions, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Ariva Academy and Ariva Talks. Again, it's Ariva Academy and Ariva Talks. For our upcoming online learning sessions, we would like to invite you to our live webinar series for a cause, the HR Virtual Summit PH 2020. This session with Dr. Bob Nelson is one series of this HR Virtual Summit. And we would like to invite you, this will be after this session, we will be having our second online selling from home, how to use FBIG and LinkedIn for your business, 4 to 6 p.m. right after this session. This is only $799 per participant. You will be getting one free ebook, and this will be discussed by none other than Mr. Jonathan Yambut. Another e-learning masterclass, Effective Human Resource Planning Techniques, Strategies in Response to COVID-19. This will be on Friday and Saturday. Don't forget, June 26 to 27, 3 to 5:30 in the afternoon, and we will be having Mr. Ronaldo Turla to conduct this session. Another live webinar series for a cause. We have invited Professor John Raymond Almeida, and he will be discussing pandemic and HR in 2020. How strategic should HR become during the COVID-19 crisis? Again, Monday, June 29. And of course, we will be having Mr. Howell Mabalot to discuss the following masterclass series. This is 3 online sessions, How to Communicate with Diplomacy, Tact, and Credibility in Times of Chaos, June 30. Leadership Skills for Supervisors in Turbulent Times, July 16. How to Take on Greater Responsibility, Step Up Skills for Non-Managers, August 11. What to do if you're laid off during COVID-19. This will be on Wednesday, July 1. 4 to 5:30 in the afternoon. This is only $599 per participant. And of course, this will be conducted by the ASOS Millennial Guru, Mr. Jonathan Yambut. Another e-learning masterclass, Effective Collections of Receivables in the Post-Pandemic. This will be on Thursday morning and in the afternoon, 10 to 12:30 and 3 to 5:30 in the afternoon. And we will be having Professor Ricardo Ricky de Vera to conduct this session. Another e-learning masterclass, Managing Tax Assessment, Friday, July 3 to 5:30 in the afternoon, and this will be discussed by Attorney Nelson Gargoles. And if you want to customize an e-learning session for your team, for your company, invite our Ariva Partner Speakers Bureau, please call me at 0916-695-4418 or email me at irish.arivaacademy@gmail.com. That's it, guys. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Again, this is Irish Malonda Samson in Ariva. It's all about being better, be safe, and have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.